Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're all gearing up for the Labor Day weekend if you're in the States. And if you're across the seas, then hope you're having a good weekend either way. And so I've got some time here. I wanted to showcase a deck that I've been meaning to get to. So usually on Sundays I would do my meta breakers, and there's been a really cool reanimator deck, and I really wanted to talk about mono blue specifically because of it's a really nice counter to mono red prowess or mono red aggro, which has been quite prevalent on the ladder. And it is also a really good counter to the Boros tokens build. So the Caretaker's talent control, this deck does pretty well against. So this was a list by Souls 7 or M, and went 52 and 29 for a 64% win rate into Mythic. And it's the last day. I haven't been playing as much Standard as I would like to. Usually I am able to hit the ladder a little bit harder. But this, I was having some troubles grinding the ladder into top 1200 in limited. So I finally got there, parked it right at like 1000, rank 1000. So we'll see if it holds till tomorrow. Might have to play one or two more matches. We'll see. But anyway, this deck. So you've got the bounce, so like into the Flood Maw, kind of replacing the 1 mana bounce that rotated, that I'm blanking on the name. But the idea is a version of this deck has been around for a while. So we have the Haughty Djinn, which its power is equal to the amount of spells that you have in your graveyard, and then instant and sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast. And this pairs pretty nicely with Illuge, the Shoreless Sea. And this one, you put a flood counter on an island, and then you get to your instant and sorcery spells cost 1 island less for each land that has a flood counter on it, which allows you to protect your Djinn, protect your Eluge from your opponent's interaction through counter spells. So we've got a full 4 playset of the Phantom Interference, as well as a full 3 steps ahead. And so the spree does get discounted by both the Eluge and the Haughty Djinn. And what's nice about this card, I think, is that it's kind of being played instead of the Tolarian Terror. And the Tolarian Terror it got cheaper to cast based off of how many instances and sorceries were in your graveyard, but it didn't help you make things cheaper. So we get a large threat its power is equal to the number of islands that you have, but we do have to kind of go up a little bit higher in the curve because of this card. So we're going to be running a little bit more lands than the mono blue tempo deck was running before, and the Eddie Merc Crab is one that is kind of like the Tolarian Terror. It gets cheaper, but it has flash and doesn't have the ward, but comes in and taps 2 target creatures. Flow of Knowledge gives us a bunch of draw and then discard, and filling the graveyard is good. So we lost Consider, but we still have like Sleight of Hand, which is a nice cheap way to put a spell into your graveyard, and then you get 1 into your hand and 1 onto the bottom of the library. We've got Moment of Truth, which is a way to put a card into your hand and 1 into your graveyard. This one was being played instead of the Impulse near the end of, I can't remember, in the last couple of months before rotation. Negate, I think there's enough non-creature spells that Negate works pretty well. That being said, this deck does struggle against Boros Convoke and the Celestia Rabbits. The go wide strategies get off to too heavy of a start, and then our 1-for-1 answers with bounce and counter spells don't work well with the go wide strategy, and that's just kind of a weakness of this spot. The other decks that tend to do well against this are the more strictly control builds, like Azorius control, white blue control, that have more of a counterspell long game mill plan. I know has been kind of difficult for this deck. We also have the 1 copy of the Long Rivers Pull to counter a creature spell, or we can gift them a card if we need to answer one of their spells. And the Dispersal we still have too, so this is another one like Into the Flood Maw that's really good for disrupting the Slickshot Show Off, getting it back into their hand, and these cards making it particularly nice against the mono red aggro. So we've got the Blast Zone in here. I don't think it's super necessary, although occasionally you do get to wipe a bunch of like Heartfire heroes off of the board, and Monastery Swift Spears and things like that, it did help me win a game. So as is usual, after my long spiel here, I'll do my best here to showcase a couple of games on the ladder. And I'm not going to cherry pick any of the games. I'm just going to play what we get is what we get. So if we go like 0 and 5 because the deck has some bad matchups, then don't read too much into it, because this deck has been successful for multiple pilots into Mythic and is good depending on the meta and the matchups. So let's see how it goes. All right, we're going first. We have Sleight of Hand, which is a great turn 1 play. Then we can hold up counter spells. We don't have any of our threats yet, but we can dig into with the Flow of Knowledge to go Finder Djinn, Crabs. Seems like a pretty decent starting hand. It is a sorcery. Don't make that mistake. I've made that mistake of casting it. Now, I don't know which one we're up against right now. If we're up against the mono red, I'd rather get the Dispersal. But I think I want to just keep digging. Downside of going first, we have a little bit less information. But we can do this on turn 3. As long as they don't play a 1-drop that wins the game, should be okay. No lizards one time, please. Feel like a Hired Claw or something. Tap land. Okay, perfect. So some form of Boros control. I think I'd like to keep the counterspell up here. We could have used the Isfaro Dispersal on the creatures as well. Or on the manland, sorry. Okay, we've got 2 in here. The other thing that's nice too about Eluge and the Dispersal is that you can cast it for free. So it gets discounted if they're attacking you, and then you can just play it for absolutely no mana with the Eluge. So I'd like to get the ability to save the Eluge, I think, before playing it. This is always a deciding factor in the deck, is whether or not to play it slow. Because if we play the Eluge and I have 1 more land, I can hold up the Phantom Interference. So I think we're just going to try to wait. They are missing a land, so I could see pressuring them being right. But if they have a Get Lost, then I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs. And if this dies, you don't get the discount, even though the Flood counter stays around. Okay. Still gonna just hold up the counterspell here. Definitely could be a wrong decision. But I'd really like to protect it if I can. Alright, flanker. Sure. So they got rid of a Sunfall. They hit lands. So the upside to this strategy too is that all of those anti-creature spells we have answers for. Can't hit another land to save our life here. I think I'm going to go with the probably Moment of Truth, end of turn, if we don't have to double counterspell again. Could have done it then, actually. I should have done it then because I could play the land. Okay. Let's guarantee that land drop. Let's put the spell in the graveyard, Blast Zone on the bottom. Alright, so now that we can hold up a counterspell to save this bad boy, if we can get like another flood counter too, we would be able to do the Flow of Knowledge, and then that should be pretty good. Downside here is that they have 2 things of removal, then Eluge is just dead. So there's the first Get Lost. And maybe they have another one, and that's just that. Okay, flanker's fine. This costs 0, but we still have to pay the 1. Nice thing about this is Flanker doesn't answer the Shoreless Sea, so we should be able to attack next turn, get another Flood counter, which discounts this even further. Losing our graveyard definitely hurts this strategy, though. Let's get a discount, though. It's the first one that you cast, not all of them. Just keep that in mind, too. It's better to stagger. Okay, in for 14, very good. These are all instances, so again, I'm gonna cast one now because of it being cheaper this turn, and then we can do it again the next turn. All right, what do we want to discard? Probably a bunch of land. Yeah, and they're done. So, case in point, Boros control destroyed. Alright, opponent is going first, which makes our counter spells a little bit better, but certain strategies can get off a little bit too fast. Again, we do have a turn 1 if they do have a gnarly draw, 2-drop, and we've got 2 counter spells, so this looks like a keepable hand. Okay, black is a tough matchup if we're up against the discard. It could be kind of a tricky one. Looks like maybe Golgari midrange. Deep Cavern Bat, okay. Well, I think we'll just bounce that. Just try to slow down their first couple of plays. They get to see my hand. But then we can kind of lock them down on the counterspell. Hopefully we keep drawing lands. I've played this deck a little bit, definitely not up to the point where I feel certain about it, but I feel like this deck could do with a little bit more land. Like, I feel a little bit mana hungry in this deck a lot of the time. So I think I'm going to use the Phantom Interference over the Long River's Pull because this is just like a hard counterspell, and this one is kind of time sensitive. If we the Quench, once they have more mana, we're kind of in trouble. Alright, well, this isn't the first time I've been stuck on this situation either. So we can't use the Phantom Interference here, so we'll just counter here. See if they have a third copy of the Deep Cavern Bat. Moss with the Dread Knight, okay. Alright, there we go. We hit land 3. Very good. Keep that coming. Now, we could 3 steps ahead. Mosswood Dread Knight. Do we want to just counter it? We could 3 steps ahead to draw to try to hit a land. So we really need to hit 5 if we want to protect this from removal. So I think I might just let this resolve. And use this for drawing. Well, thank goodness I did that. Okay, Liliana's part of why black is so good against this deck is if they're constantly making us discard, then it's no good. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to 3 steps ahead here to try to hit a land. Okay, we hit the land. I'm not sure if Flow of Knowledge is particularly good because they could play Shieldred. And I think I'd rather just Dispersal the Dread Knight. And then keep digging. I could also just not bounce the Dread Knight. I think I'd actually like to bounce their Restless Cottage. Okay. Yeah, so that exiles something, one of our spells. It's fine. Hello, Jin. How you doing? So, Jin... I like having Jin, but I think I want the land first. It depends on if they have mill. See, next turn I can do this and then hold up these for free. I guess we don't need the land then. All this time trying to hit land 4, and now I'm getting rid of a land. Okay. So we go here. Turn the blast zone into an island. Don't think we're likely to sacrifice it, and it makes my dude able to block the 3-3 or 3-2. And then we can slide a hand and still have the dispersal. I think I go with the 3 steps ahead over the other counter spell. All right, and removal. Yes, we can't do that. But next turn we should be able to Jin and hold this up if we hit an island. Damn it, so I should have kept the island. Yeah, because if they have another thing of removal here, I'm really sad that I did that. Because if this was an island, we would have been able to hold 3 steps ahead. So that was wrong for me to bottom the island. I can hope they don't have a second thing of removal. Because if we get to untap here, we should be sitting pretty well. Okay, them attacking with the cottage is good. You make my Jin smaller. Oh, they didn't remove a spell. I don't think there's anything that punishes this block. Just keep bouncing their man land. Okay. I think I would like to have the lands. This could be good, though. Continuing to bounce. I'll hold up the counter spell. And then... yeah, I think this is okay. Alternatively, I could put it in the graveyard because then we could hit for 8. Don't think it's a faster clock. But I wouldn't be able to play the end of the Floodmaw and still Flow of Knowledge. I think I'm going to go with the land. I might need this for the clock, though. Hold on. Oh, they would have pumped it to 9. Oh, actually, that might have been right to do then. Okay, they're gonna help me out. So we just protect it from removal. We should be okay. If I'd put that in the graveyard, they would have been at 9. So I'm making some mistakes. Just have to dodge double removal here. Oh, they're at 16. Oh, no. Okay, so I have to counter that. And so let's see here. We could create a copy of Jin and counter it for 6. And because of the discount, I can do that. It's completely destroyed by removal. Let's pray they don't have removal one time. So if they have removal, I should have done the draw 2. If they don't have the removal, though, we just win. Well, most likely. Because they can pop 1 food. Okay, made some mistakes that game, but we got through. Beat Golgari mid-range. Okay, opponent goes first. Ooh, we don't have any counter spells, but we have really good dig. This could be a problem. Okay, up against control colors makes me feel better. Just gonna hit land here, I think. Crab is a nice threat, but less good against control. They're like Sunfalls. Okay, so this should be an unfavorable matchup. Let's see how it goes. I think I'm just gonna Moment of Truth now instead of when they have a counterspell up. We've got 4 lands. I think we want to get some counter spells ourselves. Put the spell in the graveyard for the things that care about that. Oh, would you look at that? We're up against a Jin deck. I had not. Okay. Interesting. So they have no way of protecting it right now. I would like to bounce it and counterspell it, but then we might just be dead to the Jin. I guess I could go for 2, because then maybe they're... I think I'll go with bouncing it right now. If they just like untap and play it again. So this is the Azorius, this is the white-blue Mentor deck. Bringing in the white so that they can do the recommission and play the Mentor. Okay, so now they have counterspells up. I could go with the Dispersal into the counterspell our own for the Haughty Jin. I could also do the Eluge and try, because I think if I play this right now, it just gets countered. So which one do I want to get countered? And I think I'd rather keep my threat. Oh, that's an interesting one to include. The Picklock Prankster to put more stuff in the graveyard. But here's the Monastery Mentor. Alright, let's... This is probably going to get counterspelled, I imagine. Yeah, there's the negate. They can just replay the Jin. Could counterspell with the 3 steps ahead. I'm not sure I want to, though. Okay, well, we can counterspell that one. Nice, okay, so Phantom Interference. We need to hit those negates. So I could play the Eluge and have the Phantom Interference up. Which means they get the Dispersal on the Eluge anyway. So that feels kind of bad. But if we're just sitting here taking damage from the Jin, that's also not great. Again, you can see why I think this deck is pretty mana hungry. So maybe they don't do the dispersal. Okay, hitting us for 3 there I think was the best that that could go. Mentor. I really don't want to let the Mentor down, but we don't really have a choice. Okay, so now they're casting the Dispersal. But we can protect our dude from getting bounced. Okay. So now it's a matter of getting through the chump blockers, which is not particularly great. Mentor's at 3. We could wipe their board if we could Blast Zone. I wonder if the Blast Zone's actually right. Let's see. As I attack, they block with the 1/1. And then I could sacrifice it to kill the Mentor and the Djinn. I think I like that the most. Everything's at instant speed anyway. Get some discounted lands. Oh, they didn't block. Okay. Right. Well, that kind of makes sense. Am I going to take way too much damage to have attacked there? Just the Moment of Truth is free. So maybe I should cast that now. I don't think there's any harm in doing it now. Wow. There's all of our lands. Okay. So now I can put a counter on the Blast Zone and still have not quite the counter spell up though. This isn't only, you can do this as an instant, not at sorcery speed. Oh wait, 3 steps ahead gets discounted twice. We can actually counter. For 1. Okay. I could flash this and try to block or something, but I think I'll just let this happen. Go to 7? Interesting they didn't do that first. Because they would have got the prowess pumps. And made their Djinns bigger. It'd be right to block this draw. This blocks a draw too. I probably want to counterspell this. Okay, so this should still only cast 1 or cost 1, as long as it doesn't tap my Blast Zone. We might just die from the 1/1s though. So I think they should have cast that pre-combat. Okay. Can we erase? We might be able to erase this. Let's see. Let's go with... Put 2 counters there. Okay. And then... This costs a total of 4 to do. Which means I can't quite Flow of Knowledge. See, I could Flow of Knowledge if we hit a land out of our giant draw, then I can Blast Zone, but if they have a counter spell, then I'm in trouble, right? I think I chose this path already, so I'm going to go with the Blast Zone and just not play the Djinn. Try to race. Oh, wait, you know what? I can still do it. If I hadn't put the flood counter on the blast zone. Dang it, you know what I was supposed to do? I was supposed to attack first, then use the flow of knowledge. Okay, whoops. Yeah, if I had done that in a different order, I would have been able to flow of knowledge, and that might matter. So punts all around. Oh, and then maybe I'm not even supposed to attack, because like if they just play a spell, a single spell, I was dead. Okay. Yeah, I think that's gonna be GG. So if I had flow of knowledge, then I would have been able to negate the helping hand. Oh, okay. Well, oops. I could hit into two things of. No, I'd have to hit into 3 things of bounce and land. There's a chance. Okay. So not gonna cut it, right? I already played a land. No, I didn't play land. So let's discard 1 land. And then we're not playing Jin. That's not gonna help us. Yeah, so if I had been able to negate that, though it didn't create an extra, it wouldn't have prevented a blocker. I needed a counterspell on the Mentor. If they'd had a single blocker. Yeah, there's no way we win this, right? Okay. That's too expensive. All right, GG. Oh, I should have attacked first, and then I would have been able to play those sleight of hands for free. Oh, wait, could I have lived? Because then the dispersals... No, I don't think I could have lived. Anyway. Made some mistakes. Dang. All right, when I go back and watch that one, I think that might have been a winnable game. All right, opponent goes first, but we've got a turn 1. We've got 2 turn 1s. Moment of... Okay, this seems like a good hand. Like it. You know, this list was at 61 cards, so maybe it just needs to, like, actually be trimmed. Alright, Undercity Sewers. This is... Maybe Domain. Mirror. We'll see what we've got going on here. I think... I've been so land hungry in this deck, I'm just gonna grab the islands. I know we already have this, and I'm like asking to get flooded out, but like, yeah, of course we draw the land, right? Okay, we can hold the Moment of Truth. Need to find a counter spell to be able to protect the Shoreless Sea from removal. Oh, counterspell versus Jin. Jin's a nice threat, but we have no way of protecting it. It's not the best, because this one doesn't work particularly well with the Jin, but it does work with the Eluge, so I'm going to take the Long River's Pull. Put the island in the graveyard, Jin in the deck, I suppose. Okay. Very Mastermind. I think I would rather save this to protect it and rely on dispersals and whatnot. Okay. They can just replay it, but I think I'm fine with that. Let's get some Surveil for finding another Jin. I might counterspell this. Alright, so now we have plenty of lands. Whew, okay, we're flooding. We're flooding. One more turn and then we'll do this. Maybe even 2 more turns, because it depends on if they have the land up, right? We could just take the 2 damage instead of into the Floodmaw. Yeah, I think I'd rather wait to bounce a land. Okay. Ooh. Jin might be a better option here because we can counterspell. Sure. It doesn't get a discount, but like we can protect it. If they go for a counterspell here, then we can counter them. Having them draw though, like it's not ideal. I'm not sure how I feel about these Long River Pull. I almost want this to just be a 3rd copy of Negate. Alright, so there's the 3 steps ahead. Counter this, we have to get them a card. But we get the Jin down, and then they don't have removal in Dimir. Seems really thin. Whoa, it's Archfiend of the Dross. Alright. Now we're talking. So we can go here. And into the Floodmaw for free. Hold up the 3 steps ahead. Really surprised they didn't have removal that turn for Jin. And then next turn, Eluge. So like this deck does reasonably well with the flooding out. Like I'd rather flood in this deck than get stuck for sure. So we can do this pre-combat. They're tapped out. Find a counterspell would have been perfect. This is a legendary creature, so I don't think I want to do that. The Phantom Interference would be 1 more damage. Doesn't matter. Maybe they go for the Archfiend again. All right, here we go. They play a tap land and do Archfiend, it's just like game over. And we can also play this out to create a 2/2 flyer. If they deadly cover up, we can protect ourselves from the Wrath. All right, let's go. Hope that gives you a good idea about the deck. Didn't get to play up against mono red, but it is a favorable matchup, at least according to the stats. So if you're struggling out there trying to figure out a deck that you would, I feel like this one can climb. It's a little bit better than the rock paper scissors, at least in where I've played a lot of mono red and got stuck for a long time because I feel like it's pretty heavily countered. So mono blue's been working for me. I hope it works for you as well. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the deck. There's probably no reason to run that deck at 61, really. Like, the likelihood of actually going through your entire deck with all of the card draw is pretty slim, and I've played it 20 times or so, and like, I haven't gotten close to milling out. So that's the only time that I actually justify running a 61st land, so I'd probably cut something from the list. After playing it for a little bit, I do think that it wouldn't be a land. Probably would drop maybe the pull, the flexible counterspell, maybe. But anyway, give it a try. Hope it treats you well. And on Sunday, I'll be going over my meta breakers. Fingers crossed. I've been missing doing that, and like I said, there's been a couple of decks like this one that I didn't get to talk to as they kind of popped up. So I'll do my best to kind of showcase some of the off-meta picks. And on Monday, I'll be going over my best of 1, best of 3 review, as always. And tomorrow, I'm going to be playing the Arena Open again. So if you're competing in the Arena Open, let me know how it's going for you. I always love hearing from you guys. And maybe I'll actually get into day 2 this time around. It's a tough sealed pool, tough format for sealed. So enough of my ramblings. Take care, everybody. Welcome to my community if you're new here. Click like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you on Sunday.